Welcome to Chemically Undoped, the new podcast series from the AIChE-VIT student chapter, where we drop the formalities, skip the textbook, and get straight to the raw, unfiltered truth about life and careers in chemical engineering. Every effort we make reflects our dedication to driving positive change in the field. With that mission in mind, it's my pleasure to hand the mic over to Lenser to introduce our truly exceptional guest today.
Well, that was a good introduction, Nikhil. Well, I have to introduce him more. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome Mridhul S. Kaimal to the show. Rather than just being a normal chemical engineer, he is a biotech innovation specialist at Biological E Limited in Hyderabad and an expert in advanced manufacturing and synthetic biology. He is a proven innovator in cutting edge areas, including medical devices, microfluidics, enzyme engineering, and even much more. Well, welcome to the show, dude. By the way, how is life going?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lenser, and thank you, ACHE-VIT, for giving this opportunity to speak. It's always a pleasure to speak to the next generation of engineers that is coming up, especially in this era where most of the people are going to the digital transformation side rather than sticking to the core engineering side. So, as of now, my life is good, and I am fortunate enough to work with this amazing company called Biologically. So we are a 50-year-old company who has been into the field of manufacturing biologics in biotechnologies. We initially started with products which were in anti-venom side, and slowly, under the leadership of Dr. Mahidma Datla, we have progressed towards multiple vaccine manufacturing, and we are collaborated with a lot of international MNCs and organizations such as WHO, Gates Foundation, etc. So it gives me also an incredible opportunity and platform for me to explore the new ideas that can be brought into such domains, which is unconventional for usual chemical engineers that is coming out of India. So yeah, that is where my life is right now. And at this point of time, we are as a company working towards adopting new innovations such as AI/ML and optimized raw material usage, better supply chain management, etc. into this one, and also into certain parts of drug discovery, new vaccine methodologies, etc. So that is where we are right now, and that is where I am also helping in the company.
Well, thank you, sir. You proved us through that introduction that the hype that we gave you was worth it in every single note. Seriously, sir, you're gonna be in a hot seat today. We have a set of really interesting questions, and we'll be starting off with Nikhil today. So, Nikhil, go forward.
Okay, so my first question would be, let's start from the very, very beginning, okay? A question which every chemical engineer is asked. Why choose chemical engineering? What initially sparked your interest in chemical engineering? Was it a specific, like Thomas Edison light bulb moment? And how did that initial spark turn into all the intense biotech work you do now? And on a personal level, what's been the biggest W this career has ever given you?
Okay. So I think right from the get go, from my sixth standard or fifth standard somewhere, I knew that I had a knack for engineering. Even my mom, as she was parenting me, she always knew I had a knack for breaking out a car, seeing what is inside the car, and then putting it back together, etc. I'm sure most of you would have the same kind of childhood
Yeah,
experiences
yeah,
as well,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So then now nurturing that side, I was put into Olympiads where my core competency or where I showed a lot of strength was in the physics side. So I was always more dragged towards the physics. So by 10th, 11th, 12th, I started taking coaching like most of you again did, and I was at Fiji, and I shuttled between Chennai and Kochi at that time for coaching myself. And then even faculties there also was very confident of my physics abilities, while my chemistry was not very good. And it's also very interesting that I only learned biology till my 10th, and I did not do very well in biology because taxonomy and learning about the names of plants and animals was never my forte. So then I saw good results in 11th and 12th. I wrote my competitive exams, and then I couldn't get into any good core branches in IITs, and then NITs. Some of them were there, but they were not offering good programs. So then I stumbled upon BITS Pilani. So the good thing about BITS Pilani is that they offer you the option of doing dual course degrees. So I never wanted to leave the science part of my life. So since I was very interested in physics at that time, I wanted to try taking physics. But then so everybody should do a due diligence. So this is for the people who are into 11th and 12th when they're going to join. You should do your due diligence in looking at the syllabus before joining a college, because when I saw the physics syllabus, I was very scared. It is a jump from using numbers to just having ABCDs and a lot of Greek symbols and Latin symbols that I had no clue of. And then I was very sure I liked physics. I'll do the applied physics part of life, but I'll never learn physics as a theoretical subject. So then the next question is that I wanted to select science, but then what science? I was not very good at chemistry and I did not see. And then biology came as the most simplest scoring subject there. So I am very very glad that the biology department, Bitspilani Goa, had a really good set of faculties. They really care about the students' welfare and they care about what you study. The curriculum is also designed very fairly. So the recommendation by the seniors when I asked also was that you take biology. And then someone as they're interested in physics, the first engineering topic that would come is to join a mechanical engineering. So I hail from Kerala, Kochi, and if you do go to Kerala, there will be a thing for mechanical engineering. So it has a cult following in mechanical engineering in Kerala. So that was my initial option. But then when I took biology and then talked to seniors, initially after 1 year, we had to choose our engineering. It did not make a lot of sense for me to take biology along with mechanical engineering. So even though I was offered the subject, I chose to go with chemical engineering because it made more sense as a coalition of two subjects. So then I followed that. So chemical engineering is a tough subject. I will not tell it's an easy subject. And it is a derivative branch of mechanical engineering. So anyone who's interested in mechanical engineering can always opt for chemical engineering and it will not disappoint you at all. But I rarely, very rarely see anyone actually saying that I want to be a chemical engineer. So most of the people will always say that mechanical engineering or they want to do an electronics engineering, electrical engineering, but no one actually says a chemical engineering because as a culture in India, we don't have a lot of innovative chemical jobs here. And the only people who do end up doing chemical engineering usually go abroad to Gulf countries to join the big conglomerates of oil and gas companies. So that is where there is no exposure for people in India to actually know about what chemical engineering is, how it is going, and there is no actual mentorship for such kids also coming to it. That being said, we have a really good institute in Mumbai called ICT Mumbai, who has been nurturing the chemical engineering in India for the past 1 decade. I mean, past 50, 60 years. And they are a really good set of people. So the bunch of projects and the faculties and the works that has come out of ICT is truly incredible. So we all look up to ICT for the direction in which chemical engineering is going in India currently. But yeah, I would say me coming into biology and chemical engineering is by accident. But the love for science and engineering is what keeps us still sticking on to these subjects, because problems are same in all places. Even if it's engineering, even if it's science, we need problems always. So it does not you know uh, distinguish between people who are from this discipline or that background, etc. But if you have a problem, you can solve it. You're an engineer at the end of the day. Doesn't matter what you learn. So that is how I ended up here, and I still keep on doing the same.
So it's just the first question that we asked you. I'll honestly say from my heart, you are very much connecting to me. Let it be this journey that started from 10th standard, after for going for coaching. and going for coaching and not ending up in a desired NITs or IITs and going for another college. And after that, coming to chemical engineering, which wasn't actually many people's initial plan, but then it became they started the project on chemical engineering, started loving it, and now the interest of biology that came out of nowhere even after dropping biology after 10th. That's exactly what I am right now, and that's exactly the reason why people like me will connect with you so much. And there is no better inspiration when people like us connect with a person who is successful, and we are like, and that's what the whole point of this podcast is. I'm pretty much sure that's the same point of view for Nicole also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, when you told that you hail from Kerala, we're giving a heads up that we both are also from Kerala.
Oh, good. Very
So
nice.
when you told about the pressure of mechanical engineering in Kerala, we could relate it very much.
Yeah. Royal mix there, no? Royal mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, going to the next question, it will come from my side. uh, when you hear most people saying about chemical engineering, it's the first thing that you come to your mind is definitely oil and gas, and then in most of the cases, it's a full stop. Honestly, I did that too in my high school. Do you think this one track image is actually stopping students from noticing all the cool new areas like biotech, sustainable materials, and even space tech? And how important is it that we break the stereotype to bring in the next wave of innovators?
Right. So I see that you think about chemical engineering also in the buzzwords that is coming up right now, let's say aerospace or biotech. But you see, India, as I said before, has a long standing history of just sending chemical engineers to Gulf countries. And the huge demand in Gulf countries and places like US, UK was at that time energy, and the sole supplier of energy was crude oil. And due to the geopolitical tensions there and the financial decisions of the world, you had oil and gas industry coming as one of the top revenue generating industry as well. So engineers were needed at that time due to the high demand of engineering projects that is needed, because people were putting rigs in middle of the sea, in middle of places like Mexico, Texas, etc. So engineers were needed. It is not just technicians at that point. But you also see at the same time that oil and gas was developing. Just after the boom in 1980s, 1990s, you started seeing industrialization in places like Germany, UK, the US, etc. Now, industrialization as a phase is hugely dependent on chemical engineering. It is not just a mechanical engineering and electronics engineering. In fact, electronics engineering is also dependent on chemical engineering, because your silicon chips are by the at the end of the day made by chemical engineers. So some of my friends are in Intel doing core chemical engineering for just silicon making. At that time, you not only see people do go into oil and gas, people did go on to making cement, into steel industries, into your fast moving consumer goods like toothpaste, soaps, your oils. You take any object that is around you today, including your plastics, your glass, your furnitures, everything at the end of the day is a chemical engineered product. And that huge dependency on chemical engineering is also what makes chemical engineers one of the highest paid jobs in countries like US and Germany. Now, you don't see that in India because we never had innovations in chemical engineering, right? So, whatever you see today that we are using is a byproduct of whatever happened in the industrialization phase in uh, the Western countries. So, now if you look at the scenario today, we do have chemical engineering industries. So, we do mix specialty chemicals now. We make plastics, we make polymers, etc. But the point is, we don't have engineering happening. What all these companies do is that they take the consultancy from someone from Western countries, they set up the thing here. Then once the industry is set up, you don't need engineers. Engineers are there for developing solutions, not for running solutions. For that you need technicians. So people who make the car are engineers, but people who maintain the cars are basically service engineers. So now, how do you fill the gap of so many chemical engineers that is coming from India and so many chemical industries that is in India, but then there is no place to fill engineers because all that guy who owns the chemical engineering company needs is a technician to run the factory. So that is where, at this point of time, you have an opportunity to innovate in rest of the spaces that is not touched upon. So one of the good spaces that comes up is biotech. Now, interesting thing about all this is that our fundamentals of chemical engineering is based on heat transfer, is based on your fluid dynamics, is based on transfer phenomenon, and all these things that has been adapted for the oil and gas industries is now working very well and adapted to processes in biotech, to processes in next generation quantum computing, in next generation diagnostics in medical, and even you have to have innovations in chemical manufacturing when it comes to your medical related solutions, products, polymers, etc. So specialty chemicals and specialty polymers is a huge booming thing where you need what do you call biocompatibility, you need biodegradability. So what Lens I was talking it towards a sustainable engineering. So when you take the fundamental concepts of chemical engineering and then try to apply to different facets of your life where you see around, it makes a lot of sense to have innovations in these fields. And although our syllabus that we learn in college might be a little bit outdated, now you have the help of tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity that you can learn on your own. You can have a brainstorming with the GPT module itself and then come up with ideas. And once you have the ideas left and you know how to execute things, there are a lot of people in India who are interested in funding such projects, POCs, and then taking it up. Then you have the second category of people there where family businesses have run a long time for, let's say, steel industries, let's say vaccine industry, or for pharmaceuticals. There are these people have had legacy systems that is from the 50s, 19s, 80s, 90s, and all, and they have not changed the technology much. And they are looking for changing into a new way of how to produce things, how to better optimize. And as a country like India, we focus more on reducing the cost of operations rather than the cost of capital for the thing. So then at these points, you have a lot of places, lot of opportunities in India right now for innovating and developing solutions. So it is just a matter of reaching out to people and saying that, hey, I want to try this out, or I want to see where this goes. Would you be interested in all? So yeah, I know that that thought process exists where chemical engineers are only for oil and gas, but right now all my friends, if you see, most of the chemical engineers have moved to the IT sector. But people who are there, they are into AI/ML based programming for chemical engineers. They are in silicon industry, they are in various polymer industry, and then some of my friends are even in biotech industry also. I don't think that will stand great today because people are going in various directions using the same fundamentals of chemical engineering.
Okay,
Yeah,
see, once again, I think, see, my father works in a petroleum refinery in Kuwait. Again, the Gulf factor, the oil and gas factor, it happens very much in Kerala. It happens very much in India. When the moment I go
Yeah.
for a family function and I go for a and I say to my relatives that I'm going for a chemical engineering degree, or they're like, oh, you're gonna follow your father's same path. So literally, it's evident that a student wishing for doing a chemical engineering graduate or being for wishing to be a graduate, and they go to their parents saying that we want to be it. It's pretty much a stereotype that our parents generation have. And like you said, I hoping that my generation goes to the other paths, take up researchers, and this is actually what people want to hear. Now I think the same is with nickel also.
yeah. Industrialization, the biggest point we discussed here.
Hmm.
So, discussing about industrialization, my next question would be like, let's look ahead 20 years, around 20 years. Where do you think the real long-term security and growth is going to be? Hanging on to fossil fuels or jumping into the world of sustainable tech, for example, biotech, pharma, and innovative medical devices? And here's the tough one, Mridul. If you had two job offers right now, a massive high paying one from a big ONG company and a slightly lower paying one from a cool, sustainable startup, frankly asking, which one are you going to personally take?
So, when you talk about taking sustainability and subjects like use of fossil fuels for the next 20 years, I think 20 years is a very short time. But if you look at the industrial, I mean, okay, as countries, when we change our energy policies towards something, then you start to see where the majority of money is going or where the majority of efforts are going to. So let's take the case of someone like Adani. So Adani's could have set up fossil fuels and been a competitor to Ambani's, I guess, for Reliance, but they have chose to invest in the renewable sector. Now I agree there is a problem of wastage, a lot of unethical sourcing of cobalt, nickel, lithium, etc. from Africa, China for making batteries and stuff. But what matters right now is that if you don't put enough efforts into the sustainable system right now, or at least from the early time, even if such things don't make sense at the moment, there will come a time. So the concept of supply demand is there, right? There will come a time when fossil fuels will not be able to meet the demands that we have. And let's take the example where in humanity is right now exploring options to go outside of the planet. So when we are looking at Elon Musk trying to set up a colony in Mars or trying to set up a colony on the moon, where do you think energy is going to come from there? Does it make sense for you to load up 10,000 gallons of petrol from the earth and then take it to moon and then run your colony? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest. So it is important to put your energy and efforts into sustainable things. And the second part is that, see, everything is sustainable or unsustainable looking at the timeline. So the plastics that you use now, the other stuff that you use now, those are not degradable on a short term. So we say plastics don't degrade for 10,000 years. Now 10,000 years for a Earth is okay. Earth has survived for 3 billion years. So it's okay if, humanity all passes away. This plastic will eventually go on to become fossil fuel again for the next generation of organisms that is coming. So why is it important for sustainability? Is because it is important for humanity. It is not important for Earth. If we have to survive on different planets, or if we have to survive as a species on Earth, we have to look at things which do take up more energy, maybe than taking the natural resources available. But then it'll somehow keep the species alive. The biggest factor of, let's say, Darwin or the biologist is that human as a species are so intelligent, we know how to survive progressively. So all these things come in that view that if you know how to live sustainably, you can live anywhere in the universe. It doesn't matter because your fundamentals of light, your fundamentals of gravity, your wind, etc., is going to be same in most of the other systems that is in the universe, except for a few places. But you'll know how to live there also. So sustainability is a universal requirement, I would say, more than survival on Earth. And it is a very undebatable, okay, or unsent rule that we will be using fossil fuel for the next hundreds of years, because there is no alternatives to the plastics that we use. There is no alternative to the energy density of the fuels that you're getting. So it, as a industry, it will go on as long as it can because it has a place in our society. But if you say, or if you ask me whether I'll go to a startup or I'll go to a place who's going to pay me a big money to run an oil and gas, I would probably choose the sustainable thing because first, it excites me as a person that I have to do innovation in a certain section or a certain category. And second is that I have a personal philosophy that we should always work towards sustainable and innovative ways. So if I don't do it, then no one else is going to do it, is my philosophy. So if given an opportunity like that, definitely I will choose the startup route.
That's a really thoughtful insight, sir. I think Nickel also will
Hmm.
think the same. Now,
Yeah.
I have a question that comes behind this. It could be a contradictory question. So, you know that in India, economic sustainability for a person at this age of our age, it's a big factor. So, the question is that money wise, ONG starts strong. And over a 15 to 20 years, how do you compare this in this aspect, a biotech or a research centric program with ONG sector? Like not just the salary, the life benefits, the work life balance all together. Being quite familiar with the industry, what are some myths students often believe that this career lacks in, or this career is possessed with?
Okay. This is going to be a very controversial talk if we start talking about it. But yeah, okay. It is true. Oil and gas provides you a very stable job, very stable lifestyle also, and there's nothing much to be scared of in terms of stability. And if you're very blessed, you'll be able to go to some Western countries or places like Dubai and live a very good life there. But then, okay, even if it's a steel industry or cement industry, it's going to be the same. You have to take the other part of also that these things also have very risky work nature, and you do end up inhaling a lot of chemicals, and that affects your life expectancy, etc. A lot of safety things do come into these sectors, and although we have improved a lot over the years, it's still a risky affair. ONGC pays a lot because, see, someone has started that field a long time ago, maybe 100 years ago, and the sector has developed so much that it is now a necessity in our daily life. Uh, Compared to that, if you take biotech, biotech is a coming up industry. It is just being properly established as a major industrial sector. Let's take medical devices or medical industry, medical device, healthcare also for that matter. It has just become a side what do you call, a derivative of the chemical industry. So whoever was making urea or ammonia or something, they have just modified the process to make whatever saline solution you want, whatever sugar you want, etc. And then a huge part of this biotech also goes into food. So if you look at Kerala now, you have ice creams which are probiotic. Now you have chocolates which are probiotic. So yeah, so the dependency on biotech is far, far less than the dependency of us on petro and gas polymer related fields. But having said that, I again bring up that topic. So if someone does not do that job right now for the lesser pay or for the lesser benefit stability that you prefer, who is going to do that? So when the next generation is going to come and say that, oh, why don't we have better therapeutics for cancer, or why haven't we solved therapeutics for Parkinson's, or why don't we have much better systems for food, why don't we have best systems for travel to the space? Who's going to sit and solve all these problems? We are enjoying the fruits of someone that did the same thing, I think, 5 6 decades ago, sitting in the Germany or US as a part of industrialization. And the thing is that at the time, people and the government really pushed for the industrialization to happen because humanity was dying out of starvation. There was a necessity of winning wars, there was a necessity of survival itself. And now that industry has matured, now when you look at the next set of problems and global tensions that is going to come, I think you can take the example of COVID-19 for that. So COVID-19, just a small incident, has caused a whole turmoil over the world. And since we did not have good research and we did not have a good backup for it, we couldn't battle it properly. So someone has to do that job. Now, should you do it or not is a personal choice. I always believe there is a personal choice for everyone where your family is included, your interests are included, your attitude, personality, character, everything is included for that. So, whatever fits best to you, you should choose that because everybody needs you. ONGC also needs engineers. Even the biotech sector also needs engineers. Even pharmaceuticals need engineers. Where you go to is up to your desire. Mostly, if you go into biotech, money is not a problem in big companies. The problem is, are you good enough to join those companies to work at those prices? That is the issue that India faces, that we have talent, but we don't have enough refined talent to join workforces to take up jobs like that. So then what do you do?
Exactly.
That's true.
Innovation, the need of the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Nikhil, any more left?
Okay, so yeah, the last one I have for the students who are leaning hard into the science-based biotech side or the
Mm.
research side that you insist on.
Mm.
Any specific wisdom or pro tips?
So first thing that any one of you going to encounter is your problems with your society and parents. So whenever you choose to come to biotech, the first thing your mom has said, did you get a job at Infosys or TCS or Microsoft or Google? Because at the end of the day, most parents are sending you towards engineering so that you can earn a good paying job. And the harsh reality of innovative sectors is that it's not going to pay you in the first 5 or 6 years or even 10 years also. And it is also necessary that you should work with a company who has been doing that for a few years, because in sectors like engineering and even doctors or any skilled labor, you have to see that experience plays a lot in your work style. So a lot of things you only learn by working at some place. When people do tend to take up biotech or things like bioplastic manufacturing research, etc., you have to know that you are going to get a lot of resistance from society. You are going to get a lot of resistance from your professors also, and your life is going to get difficult. So if you are able to survive that either through privilege or either through some good amount of backing from government grants and government institutions, or maybe by scholarships, like you have entrepreneurs scholarships from even abroad also, like Thiel fellowship and Y Combinator fellowships, etc. So if you have that kind of backup, then you are sorted. You don't have a lot of problems. You can just sit in a room, work on your problem, and find solutions. India is not a place where a lot of innovation is generally nurtured, but that is changing now. The government is changing a lot of policies to bring up entrepreneurs, to bring up funding for these new projects and stuff. So it is definitely easier than, let's say, 10 years ago to go into a new field and domain, but it's going to be challenging nevertheless. So the tip is to be resilient, believe on your dreams, believe on your focus, and always take help from the veteran mentors that has been in the industry so that you can avoid the mistakes that they made. When you do all that, you make sure statistically you have a better chance at succeeding at these things. But once you succeed, the rate of growth is going to be much more exponential than most of the other things that people are doing. And it's not a guarantee that all the 10 fellows going into a different domain of research in biotech is going to succeed. But even if you fail, it's okay. This fear of failure is common in India, but even if you fail, it's okay. Things are changing now. So yeah, I will just say, just be strong and try to follow your passions and take good advice.
Thank you, sir. That actually, like, for me personally, or someone who thinks the same like me, or someone who's having the same career choices and dreams like me, it's like that's what's the motivation that we need. So, sir, I'm very sorry to say that this totally brings the end to something I would call a wicked conversation. Because of that, we had
Yeah.
some what to say, controversial topics. We had some hot seat topics that where you had to be a bit cheeky about it, and there was some really big inspiration part from this podcast. And a massive shout out to you for giving us your valuable time. It's been an absolute blast having you here, because all were these doubts that were actually put up by my own classmates, from my own side, from Nikhil and everyone who represents us. And we are so much thankful that you have shared this frank insights on oil and gas and also science-based industries that are existing in chemical engineering fields. With all love
Yeah.
for chemical engineering and all love for professionals like you, I hope one day the world recognizes the potential that we have. And on behalf of entire AICHE-VIT team, I thank you once again for being with us.
Yes, thank you so much. So, on
Mm.
an ending note, I would just like to state one important thing that I've told before also, that we are all learning our curriculum in a legacy based system where there are fields for certain kind of profession, certain kind of things. But I would like to encourage the next set of people to be problem solvers, not confined to the limits of chemical engineering or electronics or digital informations, etc. Because we see that even if you're trying to implement new technologies in the existing field, you need the knowledge of the other fields. And I am very confident and I am sure that the next generation is much more smarter and more intelligent than me at this time. So you guys are able to learn and crunch data in multiple sectors without any problem. So even if you take chemical engineering, don't stop learning your electronics, don't stop learning your AI methods, don't stop learning your IT, because at the end of the day you will have to have a multidisciplinary approach to all the problems from here on. No problem is isolated right now. So whatever you do it on a multidisciplinary level and try to solve problems rather than be defined to a particular domain of interest.
Thank you, sir. That's the best
Thank you,
part.
Mridhul. Thank you. I'm really sure this podcast is going to be an eye opener for each and every chemical engineer in the world. And to everyone listening, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more doses of chemically undoped. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, ACHEVT.
Thank you.